Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the panel. We're really excited at Geek to be presenting this panel today, which is going to be a sort of brand masterclass. And I think brands are so interesting in the gaming and esports space and a really important part of this space. So first, what I'd love to do is get everyone to introduce yourselves, and then we'll kind of jump straight into the topic. So Debs, why don't you start off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Deb Scott-Bowden. I'm an account director at CSM Sport and Entertainment, and I co-lead on esports.
Thank you, Debs. Skylar, why don't we introduce you?
Awesome. Appreciate it. My name is Skylar Johnson. I'm the founder of Control, co-founder, as well as some other brands inside the esports space, and very thankful to be here.
Thanks, Skylar. Jan?
Hey, everyone. I'm Jan Salcedo, head of esports here at Razer, and very happy to be here.
And John Ray.
Hey everyone. So I'm John Ray. I oversee direct online sales for mobile at Samsung Europe and have a vested interest in esports as well.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And I'm going to start this first question just based around strategy, really, because I think we're all aware in gaming and esports there's lots of opportunities, but in esports in general, it seems to be sort of three main types of opportunities that are available. There's we can do team partnerships, there's tournament partnerships, and then there's athletes and content creators as well. Debs, you're working with multiple brands at your agency. When you're working with these brands, what's the sort of strategy in the approach of these three different avenues you can go down?
Good question. It's like every way that we approach any kind of sponsorship or partnership that we do with a brand, it really comes down to brand objectives. What are they looking to get out of the partnership? What are they looking to get out of the campaign? Do they want to go all in? Do they want to dip their toe in, for instance? And all three of those routes that you've just mentioned, they're very different, aren't they, in their offerings, essentially. So teams, we might look at a brand who wants to do something slightly more traditional. They've worked with sports teams, they want to get into esports. They simply look to replicate that model. Tournaments can be very similar, and content offers so much flexibility in content creators that it's that's a very new avenue, I think, within esports and gaming, because it opens up gaming subculture, it opens up all these different doors into and different avenues within esports and gaming. But yeah, it comes down to, again, back to brand objectives, geography, demographics, awareness, reach. What is a brand trying to do, and how do they want to do it, would definitely lead me to choose one of the three over the other two options.
Really interesting. And Jan, obviously Razer has been a key player in terms of brands inside this space. And we've seen Razer partner with tournaments, and we've seen Razer partner with teams with that sort of Team Razer brand. Do you see what's the sort of main difference you see between the two yourself?
I would say it's a kind of interesting difference. Of one side, working, for example, with teams gives you the possibility to have a better activation of your products. Basically, you can work more on the direction of brand awareness, of product awareness. And then it means that you have the possibility to create a kind of unique content, will be more appealing to the certain audience and also to the fans of the team. When it comes to working with tournaments, for example, you will have a more broadband action where you can see a kind of unique situation of different athletes competing against each other. Not now because of COVID-19, but knows you have this run into stadiums, and you can also have the feeling of a huge audience, offline audience, obviously, who are much more reactive. Or this you can share and catch much more emotions. So, in my opinion, both are very important for a brand, and it's going to be depending what kind of message you want to send, how deep you want to go into it, and not only how deep you want to go into it, but how long you want to be part of it, right? So I think that if you're looking only for brand awareness, just putting the logo, maybe you want to go more with a tournament. But if you really want to create a story around and to see the athletes, the teams, basically the old ecosystem using your product, you may want to go also with teams. Or maybe other situation. There are not only teams right now. We also have federations, and there are also some. Not only the big teams. You also have grassroots. So a lot of news, let's say, opportunities are here.
And John-Ray at Samsung, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I just really echo what those guys have just said. Like it's about what you want out of the industry and what you want, how you want to interact with those customers. If you want high engagement or if you want wide reach, there's so many different avenues, and each avenue might have a different kind of output in a different esports, whether that's sponsoring the LEC or sponsoring a team that are playing CSGO. You're getting extremely different results out of both of them. And I think it's just super important to understand what your company wants out of that. And what, if you're one of the tournament organizers or one of the teams, what you have to offer that's kind of your USP in that space.
Skylar, you've recently done a partnership with FaZe Clan in America. I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
So I think approach is everything, right? So before obviously we went live, but we had a chance to talk a little bit about kind of approach and authenticity. For us, we were fortunate enough, being a startup business, to be able to actually offer out equity in a brand and give investment opportunities to see future growth. So I think we wanted. I've been on both sides of the coin as a pro player. Getting a sponsor that you love and representing that was phenomenal, right? And you get to kind of carry that legacy and be proud of that, and it's supporting your team, your livelihood, etc. But for Control, we wanted to be that company, right? So like with Sundance, Di Giovanni being another co-founder, he started MLG. So his whole mission in this thing was, hey, I'm one of the godfathers of esports, so I want to try to give back as possible, as any way possible. So we kind of opened up an equity reserve pool. We said, listen, if you guys can believe in our brand now in these early stages, then we want you guys to be able to see those rewards in 3, 5, 7 years. As well as if you can believe in a product that you truly stand by, let's have fun with the way that we push our messaging, and it makes the authenticity a lot easier because we just get to say, hey, have fun with this. You know your audience way better than us, and we don't want to pretend like we do. And it's just setting up the key pillars of each different community within esports. So.
And so, Debs, when you're working with these brands, and obviously you're receiving quite a few pitch decks, I imagine, from opportunities, be it teams or tournaments. What are the metrics that matter to brands at the moment? What are they looking for? Is it engagement? Is it social following? Or is it something else? I mean, I think we can look at all these metrics, but then also, how much does the brand values come into play on top of this?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting area for us just now. And again, it leads back to brand objectives. Once we've had those conversations, we know what the brand's looking to do. We know what's important to them. But we've really started making an effort to dive deeper into what the offering is, and what the importance of these key metrics are. So we've actually now started scorecarding esports properties the way that we would do a traditional property. And it's amazing because we can throw up these big numbers, we can throw up this massive reach, we can throw up engagement numbers that would wow you. But if they don't actually tie back to what the brand needs, and what the brand wants and what helps the brand deliver what they're looking for, then they essentially don't mean much. And that can go down to, you just mentioned and touched on their brand values, how the partnership will be received internally, not just externally, by employees, how they'll work with you as a rights holder, for instance, and all these things start to build and paint a picture for our brand, that I think gives them and allows them to feel a trust in this new step, in this new partnership within esports. And then we also, Charles, I know that we spoke recently, data and insight is as important as ever at the moment, and being able to back up recommendations with as much data and insight as possible that's accurate helps. So we've really taken a step forward in having so much confidence in what we're suggesting to brands, and it's really refreshing, rather than at the beginning of the journey I feel like we were overwhelmed by just the big numbers that everyone saw. Everyone's pitch decks and sales decks have the same, they know what people want to see, but going this sort of down into a deeper depth into the analysis of things have just really helped us start to form partnerships that we're super confident in and know that we'll get the best for the brand and for the partner that they're going to be working with. And we do see that a lot in esports. We do see a lot of people say, no, actually, that doesn't work for us, which we rarely see now in traditional sports. So, yeah, it's refreshing all around, really, at the moment, I'd say.
That's really interesting. I think it's that first stage, isn't it? The metrics have to make sense, but then after the metrics make sense, we need to see how we can integrate authentically, where it's not going to compromise the brand or the esports property. Jens, obviously, Razer has partnered with multiple teams over the years. What has your strategy changed from back then to now? What are you looking to do at the moment? Because I'll touch on this later, but at Geek we've actually seen the number of new partnerships drop since 2018, and it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on the reasonings why this is.
It's a good question. Actually, I will not say that we have a completely different strategy. We're actually adapting the strategy to the market, and also since we are pioneers when it comes to esports, we started in 2000. I think actually we started in 2000. It wasn't called esport; it was called cybersport. And the TVs or the monitors were TVs are bigger than that, So times are changing, and of course the industry is also changing. And since the industry is changing, then you have to adapt. And if you're part of the industry, you need to have a strategy, in order to be the first, at least to move in the right direction, right? So the amount of sponsorship, let's say the amount of new deals has changed, but you have to think also about that the business model of the teams have changing also a lot, right? So even for today, not even talking about the amount of dollars that those guys are asking for sponsorship, but sometimes for them it's even better to wait a little bit and for the next year or for the next season in order to start signing brands, because at the end of the day you have a jersey and you have a limited amount of slots on your jersey, and you don't want to sign a deal of 2-3 years when you know that the next season you're going to be maybe buying a slot of League of Legends slot in China, so you can ask the double or much more. So just to make sure regarding the teams and the question you were asking is, I think that the business model has changed. Right now they are backed by investors. So I will not say this is not important for them, but I will say it's not crucial like it used to be. This is one point. So the interest is still there for the brands and still growing. I believe that the prices also can make the difference when it comes to signing a very quickly partner or not. When it comes for us here at Razer, we have decided at the end to sign less team, but to work really as a partner with them, and working as a partner, especially for endemic brands like we are. It means that we are, for example, designing the products for tomorrow with the athletes, right? Yeah, or we are generating much more content with the teams. This is extremely expensive. This is time. Also, you need a team to do that, right? It's not only just paying and putting a logo and that's it, rock and roll, right? You need really to have a pure strategy behind. And sometimes it's better to have less team, but to activate them well, to be sure that you got the message, to be sure to run the best marketing campaign around it, instead of just investing pump and sponsorships. I would say it's a matter of let's say of taste. Some brands want to do it like that, others want to do it like that. In our case, we truly think that we don't want to be just sponsors. We want to be partners. We are looking for long-term partnerships. We're looking to grow with the teams, and definitely create a good connection when it comes with the teams, the players, but of course also the communities. And for this, I think it's better to have a limited amount of sponsored teams in order to make the best of it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So less partnerships, but more meaningful partnerships, probably, which comes down to the fact of really understanding who you're reaching with. If you're doing less, it's important to know exactly what you're going to hit with that smaller amount. Skylar, I mean, you've been on both sides of this. You were a pro player and worked with a team as well, and now you're kind of on the brand side. Are you in agreement with Jens there?
100%. As much as it pains me to say, price point is definitely one of the biggest things, right? There's just different brand values now. There's like actually the value of their brands, of their teams, and the exposure that you can get is, we're in a society where you see so many different sponsors, so many, like we're just digesting content 24/7. So the days of a video getting a couple 100,000 views and having the same impact, just it's not there. You have to be able to speak the language to whatever you're trying to sell. Or I think the reason that the partnerships might have declined also is we're still in this fairy tale stage of valuations of things, like for leagues, and I'm very open about it. I think that they just throw some numbers on the wall sometimes, and it is frustrating being here, because it's like, is that really where I thought? No, I'm vocal enough to say it. But yeah, I think we're in a good spot. We're still in this infancy stage. As Jan said, he's been here, he raised us since 2000. That's a long time. But to say that we're still in infancy, I mean, from a standpoint of the outside world looking in, and then some of us are trying to get out. It's just very interesting times. And I think this is the best time in esports, because it's more challenging than it might have been a couple of years ago. And I can openly say that, because now people do understand their value. But I think the individual route is always a fun way to go. And even kind of cherry picking some individuals off the teams, I'm noticing that's being able to happen a little bit more, so it doesn't have to be an all in or out type of thing. And I think that's really good for the players.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating. Again, a massive trend that we're seeing is, because these brands are looking at it from a data perspective, the eyeballs are very, very important. And we're now seeing these teams pick up content creators as well as their pro athletes to help fill that gap. Jean-Andre, what's your thoughts on that in particular?
Yeah, I think what everyone has said so far is completely correct and completely aligned to it. And as brands become more prudent to not just esports partnerships, but traditional partnerships, we've seen it across the whole board, right? So Samsung aren't just investing in things all over the place, but they're being a lot more selective in what we're doing. And we're using the scorecards that CSM has so nicely created for us, because they're actually fantastic. And I think it's about making sure that we do be critical of the opportunities that come to us. And as Skylar has just really rightfully said, there really are some people chancing it with really large numbers to say this is how much it's going to cost to sponsor this tournament. And you kind of go, well, I could get a lot further for that, even if my goal is sales, like I might as well go invest that in social, or I might as well go invest it in search. And I think that's what needs to, that's kind of some of the driving forces. Like esports was always kind of being put on this plateau of like, we need to invest in esports. How do we do it? And now it's kind of a bit more, we need to invest and we need to target this market audience, market demographic. How are we doing that? And esports is often the right answer. Sometimes it isn't. But I think brands as a whole are becoming a lot more prudent and aware that it's not the kind of holy grail of answers, but it is a really, really good opportunity to invest in things.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's about knowing what you're doing is the most important thing when it comes to all of this, I believe. I'm going to switch it just a little bit because there's something I want to discuss which comes across for us quite a lot, and that's brand safety. I think it's pretty clear to see that out of the top 10 games that are streamed on Twitch and YouTube, about 8 of them include weaponry or violence of some kind. And with all of these brands getting involved, I'm sure, Debs, you see a lot of that conflicting. And I'm just wondering what your view is on the future on this. James Bond is an assassin, essentially, for MI6, but he does it in a Hugo Boss suit, driving an Aston Martin. For some reason, that doesn't translate across esports and CSGO just yet so well. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Are the brands going to move forward to the game, or is the game going to kind of say, okay, we won't include this kind of weaponry? And obviously, there's a big difference between Call of Duty, Fortnite, and then The Sims. What are the levels that brands are willing to go in order to reach this market?
I really like this question because it's something we come up against all the time. And sometimes with a brand, it's a no when it comes to first-person shooting games, and that's just the way it is. So there's no point in trying to shoehorn them into something that will always just be a no. It won't work for them. However, there's a large amount of potential in this area for brands, because there's so much clean air that a lot of people avoid going into these games just now because of the connotations that are attached to them at the moment. But as we've all said so much, everyone's on a journey just now, and I think the publishers and the brands are on this journey together. Maybe there will be a bit of compromise around weapons that are used or how they're used. I don't know, but I definitely think brands, as these games and the people that are playing them are normalized more and more, brands will move towards this space, I believe. And why wouldn't they? For instance, Call of Duty, the audience that they could tap into there, it's perfect. There's your 35-year-old, they've got disposable income, they are highly engaged. They're the perfect audience that people want to tap into. We're not just talking about Gen Z here. We're talking about this audience that will come and spend money with you. And now. So I can see, it might be slightly controversial as an opinion, but I can see brands moving towards the space more. And there's so many firsts to be had in the space. There's so much exciting stuff that can happen there. I can definitely see that growing as an opportunity for brands at the moment.
So do you think we'll come to a time where it will be acceptable at some stage?
Oh,
that's
that directly with me?
Yeah.
I am going to say that I think, like I don't see why not, and I don't want to get too political into this because I know there's some of that plays a role, but it's esports, and it would be a shame, to be honest, if we got rid of what built the culture a little bit, right? Like I remember watching Quake and Jonathan Wendell way back in the day, and that you're shooting rocket gun things, but they with green bullets first, but.
Yeah.
To me, it's just the fabric of esports, and if a brand is sensitive towards that topic, then I think there's other needs, like there's FIFA, there's Rocket League, there's a lot, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that, but it's just how I feel and how I always will feel. Being a former pro, I couldn't imagine not, so just personally.
And Jan, do you feel that there are any ways potentially brands who are a bit scared of getting involved directly with Call of Duty, but maybe if they partner with a Call of Duty League team, that's a sort of indirect way of potentially reaching that audience?
No, I think when it comes to I think when it comes to this, we don't have to be emotional here. It's not about brands who want, who don't want, or how they see it. At the end of the day, you have a brand value and you have no goals for some brands, and you have to respect it. It doesn't mean they're not going to invest into esports, right? But if imagine these brands also have their own audience, they also have their own clients, their own investors, right? And if a brand is a little bit more conservative, they may don't want to put some investment on a game where the direction of the game is to defuse a bomb, right? You got terrorists or not, and you defuse the bomb, and if you don't defuse the bomb, something maybe a little bit complicated to explain to an investor that you got 100,000 of people attending an event in Katowice, watching in a full stadium someone defusing a bomb or not. You may want to talk to them about other games. Why you want to sell a product that that is maybe a little bit complicated, maybe it's too early for them. We have so much other products in the esports space. So why you want to run into a conflict? Some people don't like gun games. Some people don't like shooters, right? Other people like mobile. Other people like console, FIFA, whatever. So the point is, if those brands don't want to invest in those particular games, they may not reach a certain audience that may be important for them, but they may need a couple of years in order to see that, right? So what I will advise to a brand who want to go that way is first check internally how far you can go.
Yeah.
How far is it possible to do it? Because if you're gonna be, fighting internal fights, you're gonna be fighting internal stuff in order to get something new. You may want to try something new, which everybody's gonna be accepting, and then you move forward, right? So I don't see it as a problem. I see honestly it just as an opportunity, right? You got so many different games, so different audience, and then it's also depending who you want to reach. You want to reach maybe someone who is between this age and this age. You want to reach maybe someone who's more mobile user or not. Maybe you want to reach someone in this region or the other one. So think like this, and then you will see the different opportunity comes to you, and you don't even think to think about it if it's violent or not violent. If you allow me that word.
We've got about 2 minutes left. So Jean-Andre, I'm going to let you hear your thoughts on this. But I think for us, it's very much, there are only a limited amount of games that have a substantial viewership. And it's a highly contested spot for some of the non-violent games. So Jean-Andre, I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
I think there's a lot of space, right? And before Samsung, I looked after esports for Amazon Retail in Europe as well. And the first kind of allies that you want to gain internally is the PR department, right? And to Jan's point, you're convincing your internal department that this is the right thing for us to do. And when it comes to violence in games, ultimately PR is going to have the final say on that, and maybe legal a little bit as well. But it depends how risk adverse if you go into that space, the audience will reward you. We see it with CSGO countless times, right? Yeah. But similarly, there's people outside of esports that might not reward you for it. So you have to make the judgment as a company. And yeah, I think it's very much up to you. But there's also the other side to that coin is Riot just made a game actively with no blood, and they talk about that as one of the sales points. And it's good, right? Because it means people can go into that space and not have to worry about those things with PR when they're talking about it. So I think there's movement on both sides of the table. we see more brands coming into it, more and more brands willing to kind of cross that barrier. But we also see some of the publishers coming with content that doesn't make you have to cross that barrier. So it's a big bit of give and take on both sides of the table, I think.
Yeah, certainly an interesting challenge moving forward anyway. But listen, I think we're out of time now. So thank you all so much, Dad, Skylar, Jan, Jandre, for joining me here. It's been a very, very interesting conversation, and look forward to speaking more in the future as well.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. Bye-bye.